Happy Monday. You already know what the vibes are. This week's affirmation is I prioritize my own well-being over others' expectations of me. I think it's more of a mission statement than it is an affirmation because I feel like the way I feel my throat chakra is trying to get caught up, but I'm going to push through it because I'm in an uncomfortable situation right now, in an environment. There's a lot of people out and I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'm going to exercise my voice and I'm going to take up space because I deserve to. So I feel like that this is more of a mission statement than it is an actual affirmation because I truly think and feel and believe that it is beyond our birthright. I think that it's the way of life to not compromise our well-being for somebody else who's not living in our experience. And I feel like where we go wrong as community and as people who are looking to build healthy relationships and remain in healthy relationships with one another is that we feel as though that other people are responsible to uphold our personal expectations. And the reality of it is that regardless of what side you're on, because anybody can do this. Anybody, we all cross boundaries. We've had our boundaries crossed and we're going to cross boundaries. But I feel like when we disconnect from the fact that at the end of the day, what somebody needs for themselves does not always equate to what we are able to give or what we are able to accommodate. This can be applied in a variety of environments. I feel like we'll probably see it, we experience it in different environments, whether it be at work. So say, for instance, you're not feeling well or it's a lot of stuff that's going on at home in your personal life, but your boss or this company or this entity that you work for has this expectation of performance for you, and you feel like that you have to compromise your health and your well-being to be able to achieve this expectation. But the expectation is null and void because it is excluding your humanity. It's excluding what life presents, is excluding your right to say no or your right to have something else going on that doesn't necessarily coincide with the expectation is. And we see it in relationships, we just see it across the board. And I think that we feel obligated to meet people's expectations, especially my recovering people pleasers out there. I think people pleasers suffer the most when it comes to others people's expectations, because when you are a people pleaser, it's your job to make sure that everybody in your life is satisfied but you. And when you unlearn people pleasing behaviors, you recognize, and it's a painful realization, is one that I have time and time again, over and over and over and over again, have seen that people literally thrive off of you accommodating them. And people choose you, they stay friends with you, they stay in relationships with you, they pick you out. You think that you're somebody's favorite when really you are their favorite person to use, because they know that you're never going to say no to them. They know that you're going to always let them walk over you. You're always going to accommodate them. You're never going to challenge them. And I've seen it outside of myself. I've seen it in work dynamics. I've seen it in leadership where one person is going above and beyond constantly for another person, and it's never reciprocated. But that person who's receiving all these great benefits of using this other person, they continue to single that person out. And if you're not careful when you are dealing with manipulative people, they'll try to coax your mind or make you think that like they're trying to build you up, they're trying to strengthen you, or they're trying to really build a relationship with you. That's why they're always calling on you. That's why they're always trying to rely on you. They'll play on your desire or your want to be reliable, because I think that's another element of people pleasing, is that people pleasers want to feel accepted constantly. And it's like, how can I feel accepted? Okay, I can feel accepted through my reliability. How can I make myself reliable to everyone but me? So I feel like people pleasers, again, really suffer from other people's expectations. But when you step away from that and when you start to begin to build boundaries, that's the first way that you single out users, is by building boundaries and sticking to your boundaries. Not in the mood, I'm not feeling well, or not even needing to have an excuse for why you don't want to participate or why you don't want to meet this person's expectations. It could just be, I don't need to be that person. I don't need to be in this position to serve you. I don't need to do that. And I feel like we're conditioned to believe that if to be a good person, that we have to meet other people's expectations. We have to be flexible. We have to be giving constantly and constantly. Advancement in the work world, you have to be always on time. You have to, when I say on time, I'm talking about on time to other people's wants from you, on time for, you know, what is being asked of you, or even things that are above or out of your wheelhouse, or as we say it, that's above my pay grade. But we still feel like, okay, if I want to advance in this world, or if I want to keep my job, or if I want to, you know, stay in this situation, that I have to constantly meet the expectations of somebody else, whether it's a person or as an entity or as a system. And I have to betray myself in order to survive this, or in order to still be accepted by this. And the biggest realization that I've had last year was, when you participate in the burning down of the house that you are living in, you are also participating in your liberation to move on and to build a new house. You have to stop making excuses for people. You have to stop making excuses for yourself. People pleasers also have ulterior motives. When you're a people pleaser, your ulterior motive is to be accepted. Your ulterior motive is to be labeled as good, as right, as fair, and to remain in proximity to this person or this entity that you have chosen to satisfy that need for belonging. Because it's a two-way street when it comes to people pleasing and when it comes to being used. When you allow somebody to use you, it's because you are getting something in return too. And unfortunately for people pleasers, it's to fill a void that oftentimes is a reflection of something that happened in the childhood, mostly around abandonment, not being recognized, or constantly being belittled, or you never felt like you were good enough as a kid, or you weren't appreciated as a kid, or you wasn't valued as a child. So now in your adult life, in these relationships, you're looking for that acceptance that you didn't receive as a child. And users see that and they take advantage of that. So I've been in several situations where I had to set boundaries with people, and the minute that I set boundaries with people was the minute when the relationship went to shit. Things went completely left. I went from being, you're my best friend, favorite person, I love you so much, I can always depend on you, and then as soon as I set a boundary, it's the end of the world. I'm selfish, I'm this. Well, I did all this for you and I did all that for you, and I'm going to speak now from personal experience. So I realized that I was a people pleaser around, I want to say 2019-ish. I was in a friendship dynamic with a narcissist, and a lot of times we know when people are shitty, or we know when a situation is shitty, or an entity or whatever it is shitty, and we know that it's not great, right? But we make excuses for that because we're not getting that treatment. But if you can watch somebody else use somebody else, or watch somebody talk shit about somebody, or bring them down to the ground, don't ever think that that same treatment won't be extended to you. You are nothing different. For me, I was in this dynamic with this person who had beef with everybody, who always was falling out with friends, who always had a problem with everything, just a negative person. And I was really cool with this person, and I started to see where I would be giving, and I would give, and I would do, and then when it was my time, and when I was in need, this person made so many excuses of how they could not be there for me, and they would be so bold with it. And that's another thing that I want to emphasize with this statement, of the importance of prioritizing your well-being over other people's expectations. Because when it's your time and you have allowed other people to burn you out, to use you, to do you dirty, to do all this, to work you down to the bone, and the minute you need something, those same people that you were compromising yourself to meet their expectations, now you have an expectation of them, and not only do they not meet it, they're bold with it, and they don't care, and they don't waver, and they don't even kind of second guess to be like, well, you did all this for me, how about I do this in return? It's never reciprocal. It's never reciprocal. And so once I started to see, oh, this is not a reciprocal relationship, I'm being used, my energy is drained, I had enough. The minute I set a boundary with that person, so many things that they felt about me, they began to say. But it's like, where was all of that at when I was meeting your expectations? I vowed to myself for the year of 2025 that I will be Ursula, I will be Cruella, I will be fucking him, I will be the big of all time in everyone's story who cannot respect and meet my boundaries. Disappointing when you realize that 90% of the people in your life don't like boundaries, or they don't respect your boundaries, or they don't want to respect your boundaries. It's disappointing, but it's also liberating. This is how they have that warning sign on it. Warning, if you jump this fence, you will get electrocuted and die. But those electric fences are in place for a reason. Wire is on fences for a reason, because it's to protect whatever is behind that wall, and whoever is trying to cross that wall does not need to do that. So that's what I think of boundaries as. Boundaries are protective measures. Sometimes people's boundaries won't work for you, and that's okay too. Boundaries are not a bad thing, and not being able to respect somebody's boundary, or I won't even say respect, not being able to agree to a boundary is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that the boundary is ridiculous. It doesn't mean that the boundary is limiting. It doesn't mean that you're stupid, or are you crazy for having a boundary like that. No, that's your boundary. That's cool, because we all are different people. We are all individuals. If I can't accommodate that boundary for whatever reason why I can't, I'm allowed to not be able to do that, just like the other person is allowed to have that in place. So boundaries are wonderful things. Boundaries keep us healthy, not just emotionally, but also physically, mentally. They keep us healthy, and they teach us the importance of self-advocacy. I think something that we teach children, I don't know how and why when we become adults it goes away. But when we think about what we teach children boundaries, right? We teach children to say, you know, I don't want to share this with you right now, or, you know, I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be hugged, or I'll do that later. Like we enforce boundaries into children to protect them, right? So why don't we continue that same thing as we age? Because we still need to be protected.